To the official class stuff, let me close some of these other things. Okay. So this is 125. Let me see if I can close some of these other tabs I'm not using today. All right. So this is 125 CISSP, what we're doing here. And the CISSP is the most important certification in this business. And that makes this class very different than my other classes. This is not a technical class. There are no hands-on projects, because a CISSP does not involve knowing how to do anything. It's a mile-wide, it's a management certification. You're supposed to know the terms and generally what they do, like how much it might cost, so you can make a judgment of how much it might cost to buy them and whether they're deployed correctly, but you're not a technician. You could be a technician also, but the CISSP is a certification that you understand how management works. And therefore, your hardcore technical people, like Linux system administrators and pen testers, are generally very frustrated and unhappy with the CISSP, and they feel like it's a waste of their time to get it, and why should they? And there's a reason why they have to, because you have to interact with management. And typically, those wild technical people have a bad relationship with management. I used to be one of them. I used to make this mistake. And you have to get over that. You have to cooperate with management, and management has a lot of irritating properties. They usually don't care much about the technical details. Their technical knowledge is often out of date. They want to talk about things like money and how long it's going to take. And it took me years of being the angry technical guy that's out of control and disloyal to finally figure out they're driving the ship. They're like the captain driving the ship. They are not going to be in the engineering room with a wrench. They're driving the ship. They trust you to take care of the technical gobbledygook. They have to make strategic decisions, like, do I outsource this part of the company? Do I sell? Do I merge with another company? Do I accept this deal? Can my staff do it? They're trying to make those decisions, which are important management decisions, but they're not technical. But there is some technical component. So the purpose of the technical staff underneath them is to take technical information and boil it down to actionable business intelligence. I fought with my boss for years when I worked at an escrow agency, and then one day he came in to visit me in my cubicle, which he often did, and this time I said, you know, the flu season's coming around, and last year flu season came around, and I calculated what happened. When the flu season came, everybody got sick for a month, then we hired a bunch of temps, they all did everything wrong, we had to spend the next 2 months doing it over, and I calculated that we lost $200,000 from that. And the next day he brought in a nurse with flu shots for everybody. That was the first time I did my job correctly. I didn't understand, but that was my job. Take something and boil it down to something he can understand. Here's something you could do, and here's how much it would cost. That's what he wanted out of me, but I didn't know that. Anyway, so CISSP means you understand how management works, and you can cooperate with them. So let me check if I can see anything on the Twitch stream. I see some comments. Good? Okay. People have audio and video going. Okay, good. All right. So here we are. And I'm just going to talk about the structure of the course. There's a textbook. This is just one of many CISSP textbooks. They are all about the same. They're very dull and painful to read, and you just have, none of them are much fun. But that's all right. Hopefully you're prepared for that. You're just learning a whole bunch of terms. And you usually don't get in much depth in any of them. You just need to learn a whole lot of technical terms and be able to answer like multiple choice questions about them. All right. And so we're going to cover the standard areas of CISSP, which we're going to cover in more detail later. So there is a textbook. You cannot take this course and then take the test and become a CISSP. In order to take a certification test of any kind, you need to go over the material twice, in my experience. And so what I do is take a course and then take a practice test. There is a very good practice test I recommend. Another alternative is to go through two books. I've done that too. But anyway, so we're going to talk about risk management, protecting assets, controlling access, and how to perform security assessments and audits and such. And all right, so there's Canvas instance, the college's official Canvas instance. There's one for this course. That's where you take quizzes. And they're multiple choice online and open book. And you will have to make 2 presentations and write 2 papers. The presentations are 4 minutes long, just like a lightning talk. So you have 4 minutes to present something on any security-related topic. My point is I want you to practice communicating. You need to communicate verbally, and you need to communicate in writing. So you also need to write 2 papers. The papers just need to be a page or 2 long on any security-related topic, and they don't have to be perfectly MLA formatted or anything. They just have to be up to reasonable business communication, like spelled right and making some sense, like a business letter. But I don't care much about the structure. I just want you, if you don't have these skills, and unfortunately a lot of my students do not, you need to develop the skills of presenting something face-to-face and presenting something in writing. And I watch people improve a lot. So anyway, that's all. You got 2 of those to do. And there's a discussion board on Canvas. There'll be discussions after the first week or 2 on topics. Yeah?
For the in-class presentation and the papers, are those corresponding? So is it the presentation and the paper on the same topic?
You could do that. You could use the same topic for the presentation and the paper, or you could use different topics. A very good question. Oh, another thing that came up before, not everybody was here, you can do everything remotely. You do not ever need to physically come to any of my classes. You can do it all remotely. You can do the presentation remotely over Zoom, or you can pre-record it on YouTube. And you can send the papers in. I mean, you're welcome to come face-to-face, and I always prefer to do that if you like to come face-to-face, but if it's a difficult commute or for any other reason you prefer not to, you can tune in to the lectures on Twitch, and there will be YouTube videos posted you can review later too. And attendance does not contribute to your grade at all. The only thing that does it is these things: discussion, board, quizzes, presentations, and papers. So there's an email you can use if you want to reach me, although the best thing is send a message inside Canvas. If anybody wants to add, I can add you in. I'll do it a bit later, I guess, but there's room for everybody. Here's some questions. Okay. Can a presentation be without showing face? Yes, you can do it. Yeah, you do not need to necessarily show your face. You do not necessarily need to use slides, but you can if you like. I just want you to make an effective presentation so I can understand your point. If a disaster is caused by a top CVE vulnerability, like Log4j, will these risk management policies be able to contain it? Boy, that is the $64,000 question, isn't it? I'm glad you asked this, because this brings up a big issue in all my classes. Security is not a science. In fact, I've advocated that we should really be in the business department. We would all like to be able to say, your current network security is 5, but if you buy this $1 million firewall, it will be a 6, and that will save you $10 million a year. That would be great, and we are nowhere near being able to do that at all. It is, unfortunately, not a science. We cannot rate how secure you are. We cannot rate how much risk you have in dollars per year. We cannot rate how good your security team is and how much good they do for you. The fact is, it's different for every company. So it's more of an art than a science. And so I would say these policies we're going to talk about are currently considered the best way to secure a company. But it all depends on how you do it. And it depends on your situation. You can, for example, achieve compliance, like with a standard where you technically obey all the rules and in fact be very insecure because you didn't do it right. You can also end up getting hacked because you're in a high-risk industry, and even the best pretension would stop you. I mean, everybody gets hacked. Google gets hacked, Yahoo, the NSA, the FBI. So it's a very important question when you ask, can you protect it, can you stop it with these policies? And the answer is maybe. And the answer is, presumably, if your staff has the certifications and knows what they're doing and is expert and has experience, you're better off than if they don't do all that. But it's kind of random anyway, just like any other crime. So that's a thing worth mentioning. All right. Good, and I'll watch Twitch chat to see if any other questions come up, but let me try these slides. I got a couple slides, presentations here, and all these slides are on my webpage too, if you care about them. All right, so here's what we do. We're going to review the terms and concepts to prepare you for the CISSP exam, to help prepare you. Like I say, this class alone would not be enough, I think, to make sure you to pass the exam. It's just to start you, and then you'll have to go through a practice test or something to continue preparing. And student presentations and papers. So you've seen my website is at samsclass.info. That's where most everything is, although you do the quizzes in Canvas, but this is where I organize the schedule and stuff. I think Canvas is pretty much a mirror of this by now, though. In this class, you might find everything you need on Canvas. Anyway, all right, so certifications are big in this business. And this is the one, the CISSP. It is not a beginning certification. It is one you get in the middle of your career because you really want to advance. But many people want you to have it, especially if you're a security consultant. They expect you to have it. One of the good things about it is you can have it revoked for ethics violations. It is like the license to practice law or medicine. It is approval by the board, and it requires you to obey a code of ethics, and people can protest against your actions and claim that you're unethical, and you can lose it. So the idea is, if you have this certification, management can trust you. And what they should trust you to do is to be professional, to be competent at your job, to be honest in what you say you can do, to hold the secrets. Just like a doctor and a lawyer, you will learn secrets, and you are required to keep them confidential. Every time you work for, you have non-disclosure agreements with them, because obviously, if you're helping somebody with their security, you are going to find out their security problems, and that is not public information. The same thing's true of pen testers, and so you are obligated to keep your mouth shut. I was on a jury a year or two ago, and they asked everybody what they did while they were selecting jurors, and I said, I'm a hacker, and they freaked out. Oh my God. They said, well, I'm an ethical hacker, and so they weren't sure what to make of me, so they asked me, what should we do about Snowden? And I said, you got to lock him up. He promised to shut up, and then he didn't shut up. He clearly violated the promise. They liked that answer. That's the CISSP answer, in case you're interested. Anyway, so, all right, so this is the one everybody expects you to have, and the one you're preparing for with this course. And so there's a lot of these. It's expected to increase your salary a lot to have it and stuff. If you actually have jobs in management, that's where the real money is. Although you can get a lot of money, actually I heard the most money is in developers, because they directly create products to sell. But anyway, it's considered very valuable, and it means people can trust you. It's required for, it's one of the many certifications that clears you for being trusted by the military to handle information. And that's the idea. It's a globally recognized standard of excellence. So you have to have 5 years of experience in information security to become a CISSP. So it's very unlikely. A lot of you probably do not yet qualify to become a full CISSP, and I didn't either at one point. And the exam cost a lot. All right. So, but you can become an associate of ISC squared. This is what I was for 6 years. It means you passed the test, but you don't have the experience. It took me a while to accumulate the experience. So this is another way to go. Anyway, and there's another one here, a sort of halfway up, SSCP you can get, which is like half of a CISSP. I'm not entirely sure how valuable it is, but it might be good, with only 1 year of experience, so it's another stepping stone on the way there if you want. And they have other ones like cloud security and healthcare and so on. I'm not sure how many people have those or exactly how good they are at getting jobs, but they're probably pretty respected because ISC squared is in general quite respected. Now there's CompTIA security, which you hear a lot more about at colleges because they're more entry level. And there is one intended to compete with CISSP, I think the CISSP Plus. And I didn't think much of it when I first heard about it compared to a CISSP, but a lot of people say they really do like it because it's more hands-on. It's about actually performing hands-on tasks. So it's not really the same as a CISSP. Let's see, I see another question here. Oh, so that's just spam trying to sell me something. All right, so let's see, you ask us, is cybersecurity insurance becoming standard? It's a good question. I think large companies are buying it, but I don't really know much about it personally. And someone said, I want to ask the same question, a better choice for business may be buying cybersecurity insurance. Well, yeah, but of course, cybersecurity insurance doesn't mean you don't have to secure your stuff. In fact, often they will require you to secure your stuff in order to qualify for the insurance. That's the real benefit of it. But it's a very good question, and we'll see for certain risks, you do choose to transfer the risk rather than mitigate it by buying insurance. But not for your whole cybersecurity program. I think nobody would recommend that. All right, and so there's a lot of CompTIA certifications, a whole ton of them. The main ones that matter are A+, Net+, and Security+. You can get all of those here in the CNIT classes, and that's what most people do when they're starting off. These are usually not enough to get you a job, but they're enough to get you like an internship or something, get you on the way to a job, and they show the fundamental knowledge of the basic terms. The CISSP is a much more advanced certificate than any of them. And by the way, they have a whole bunch of other ones like Server Plus and Linux Plus and Cloud Plus, which are probably not worth much in the job market, but they're sort of nice as sort of final exams for courses. But the main ones that have always been respected are these ones, A+, Net+, and Security Plus. CompTIA keeps offering more, and most of them just fade away. But those three ones have lasted, and everybody regards them as of value. The CISSP tests require lots of technical experience? No technical experience at all. It is management. You'll see what it is. It's knowledge of terms, not really ethics. The ethics you're required to obey or you lose your certificate, but the test itself just tests your knowledge of all these terms, which are networking terms, security terms, and products, and so on. There's a checklist on the application form of an insurance calculator. Yeah, that's right. So Zhu here says he looked at an application form for cybersecurity insurance, and they ask you a bunch of questions. You have to say you're doing a lot of stuff, which, by the way, that's all PCI compliance is. To take credit card numbers, if you're not taking very many, you just go down a checklist. Do you have a firewall? Do you isolate the wireless network from customers from the network where you process things, and so on? Do you not store the numbers? They don't check any of it. You just promise to do all that. However, if you were to lie on that form, then I think they would refuse to pay out when you got hacked. So I think there is some teeth in the insurance form. Anyway, all right, there's more of them here. All right, so the code of ethics is pretty simple. The one I mentioned here, you're protecting society, it doesn't seem to be that big a deal now, but when I first taught this about in 2012 or so, there were a bunch of real anarchists in San Francisco. There were a lot of people that just wanted to sort of tear everything down. It was Arab Spring and stuff like that, and a bunch of people were total rebels. And if you're a total rebel and you hate the industrial complex and corporations and everything, then you don't want a CISSP. You're on the other side. The reason you get a CISSP is in order to become a slave of the military-industrial complex and contribute to it and join it. I've had students actually invade my office and barricade it and say, "You're turning our students into mindless slaves of the military-industrial complex." And I said, "Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. Now get out of my office so I can resume doing it." I mean, we're here to get a job. As far as I'm concerned, this is vocational training. I work for Fortune 50 corporations as a consultant, and I assume you're here because you want to do the same. If you want to join a commune and rebel against everything, then you don't need a CISSP to do that. Anyway, then you have to act honorably, responsibly, and legally. This just means, and like any business person, like a contractor that puts a roof on your house, you have to be competent at what you do. If they ask you to do something and you don't know how to do it, don't fake it and do it wrong. Tell them, "I don't know how to do it. We'll subcontract that or something," just reasonable. That's diligent and competent service. And advance and protect the profession. You have to go to continuous training to keep your certification, and you're expected to help beginners. Give talks at cons, help other people get into it. This is very much the same thing lawyers and doctors have to do. Lawyers have to do some pro bono work. You're supposed to protect the profession and help new people get into the profession. All right, so to prepare for the exam, like I say, this class is not enough. You have to go through the material twice. The one I like is the Cyber Vista practice exam. That is considered the best. It used to be called Transcender. It is very good. It costs about $150, and it's well worth it. You're going to spend $750 taking the test anyway. You might as well take the practice test. I did what they told you to do. I practiced this thing until I was getting 100% on all the practice tests, and then when I took the real test, it was a breeze. It is not stolen material. I didn't see duplicate questions, but it covers the same material in the same manner. So when you see the real questions, you know what to do. And this is really important because the CISSP exam is extremely confusing. It is not like other exams like Cisco, Microsoft, and CompTIA. Those are like normal exams. You'll take a book, like a Cisco book full of all these networking terms, and the questions are technical questions about the networking terms, and there's one right answer. CISSP exam has a paragraph that is baffling and confusing, and a bunch of answers, none of which seem right. Because one theory is that they're all idiots writing it. I no longer believe that, although that's the first thing that comes to mind. The other thing is they're simulating what it is to be a manager. When you're a manager, you don't really know what's going on. A bunch of people report to you, and the reports are not really right, and you still have to take the right path. So you really need to do a practice test to get used to these weirdly phrased questions. It is not like other certification exams. All right, so that's the point. The questions are vague and confusing, and often you cannot find an answer that's 100% correct, and often they are not all wrong either. You have to pick the best of the available answers. And that's, I think, what it is to be a manager. All right, so there's a bunch of links on my page about this. There are blogs written by people trying to guide you through it. But the best preparation is a good practice test, in my opinion. All right, and Gilbert, by the way, Gilbert is totally in this world of CISSP. His boss is clearly a CISSP, everything about Gilbert. So everything just has to be unnecessarily confusing. That's the way it always seems to technical people. In the technical world, things are right or wrong. And in the management world, it's not that simple at all. All right, So we should talk about this. Who's actually planning to take the CISSP exam soon? Anybody here? Now, okay, before, I've had classes where it's 2/3 of the class. And, all right, anyway, so we'll see if anything changes as you go ahead. But anyway, it's good to be familiar with it all. If you go into the world of security, you will need to get this test sooner or later as you move up. All right, and that's the best exam, Cyber Vista. All right. So, see, here's one person online, 2 of Hearts is taking it after the class. Good. Well, I'm glad to hear it. We'll see what happens. And some people are qualified to become a full CISSP because all you have to have is security experience, and people that have, for example, military experience before this, that might very well count. You just have to have experience with any of the domains, and one of them, for example, is physical security. If you've been a security guard, that counts. And if you have other certifications like Security Plus, or I think a BS degree, that takes a year or 2 off, so you don't really need 5 years. There's some complicated details. Anyway, all right, so what are we? We're at 6:32. Let me stop this recording.